Hey, G, how are you?
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Are you going to talk? Okay. You're getting off the hook today, huh? Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. My name is Kim Sanchez. I'm the chief of the Fresno office of the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of California. I am speaking on behalf of the acting United States Attorney, Michelle Beckwith, who regrettably could not be here today. Today is a major victory for law enforcement, and more importantly, for our families and neighborhoods. I have a number of law enforcement partners here with me today to tell you about an Operation Shock Collar that targeted a violent criminal street gang here in Fresno County. There's going to be 5 of us speaking. After I speak, Attorney General Rob Bonta will speak, and then the special agent in charge for the FBI in the Eastern District of California, Sid Patel, will speak. The Fresno County Sheriff, John Zanoni, and Fresno County District Attorney Lisa Smitkamp. We're here to announce the dismantling of a violent criminal street gang that's a faction of the Bulldogs that was comprised of Huron Dog Life, Coalinga Dog Life, and San Joaquin Ruthless Perros that has been terrorizing our communities for far too long. This was not done alone. This was a united front, a coalition of federal, state, and local agencies acting as one. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, California Department of Justice, California Highway Patrol Special Operations Unit, MAGIC, the Multi-Agency Gang Enforcement Consortium, the Fresno County Sheriff's Office, the Fresno County District Attorney's Office, and my office, the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of California. Brave law enforcement officers who joined forces to stop this threat in its tracks. I'd also like to thank our colleagues from Washington, D.C. We have sections out of D.C. that supported this operation as well. This gang wasn't just tagging walls. They were trafficking guns, flooding the streets with dangerous drugs, smuggling drugs into jail, and sending orders out of jail for the commission of crimes on the street. They were carrying out acts of violence with zero regard for human life. They operated like a corporation, but their business was crime, chaos, and fear. Throughout this operation, there were 89 defendants charged. 38 were charged with federal offenses. Of those 38, 32 faced charges for 10-year mandatory minimum drug trafficking offenses, and the remainder face charges for illegal firearms trafficking and illegal firearms possession. We've seized firearms and narcotics. We've shut down gang houses, drug houses, and cut off communication lines. This takedown was a critical blow to the operation of these criminal street gangs. The gang preyed on the vulnerable recruits and vulnerable victims. Let me be clear, we will not let gangs win. We will join together and fight for victims and their right to live in peace and crime-free. This is not the end. We'll keep going until every gang member knows you will be found. We have done this for years, and we will continue to do it. You will be stopped and held accountable. Before I close, I want to address 4 individuals who were charged as part of this investigation, but have outstanding warrants for their arrest and have not been taken into custody. Ramona Feliciano, Servando Ayala, Gracie Polito, and Rodrigo Rubalcaba. We know who you are, and we know where to find you. And law enforcement will not stop until you're brought in to answer for your charges. So I urge each of you to do the right thing and turn yourselves in. Report to the nearest law enforcement agency. Continuing to evade only makes matters worse. And in closing, I'd like to thank all of the partner agencies, federal, state, and local, who have been unnamed. The support has been immense and goes on for 2 pages. This is a signature of Fresno, that we come together as a coalition with one goal, and that is to keep our community safe. with that, General?
Thank you, and good morning. Thank you, Assistant U.S. Attorney Sanchez, for the introduction and the overview. Today marks a major step forward in our efforts to dismantle organized crime right here in the Central Valley, and I want to take a moment to recognize and thank our partners in justice who are here today, including the U.S. Attorney's Office, of course, and the Fresno County District Attorney's Office for their work on the prosecution. I also want to recognize and thank the FBI, the Fresno County Multi-Agency Gang Enforcement Consortium, MAGIC, as well as the CHP and all the local police departments and federal partners involved. Of course, all of the individuals who we're not naming, don't want to be named. I want to recognize them for their important work, do the work every day to keep our community safe, put on a uniform, don the badge, and go out to keep our community safe. Thank you. Many people part of this effort, which is what makes it special and unique and important, that we have local government and state government and federal government agencies and law enforcement personnel among all those governments working together, hand in hand, focused on a common goal, on a common mission of public safety. And it's the tireless work of all those involved that made this announcement possible. So I want to say that I'm grateful for the collaboration and partnership. Together we are united in our mission to protect our communities and uphold public safety. We have a clear message, a message that is consistent, that is united. If you engage in violent criminal gang activity, we will come for you, you will be held accountable, and you will be prosecuted. And that is exactly what's happening today. And again, we're proud to be part of this team at the California DOJ, to have collaborated with our federal and our local partners on making Operation Shock Collar the success that it is. This operation is the result of a months-long multi-agency investigation targeting violent criminal street gangs operating in Fresno County. Our joint effort prevented violent crimes before they occurred, including likely shootings and likely drug-related violence. By removing firearms, drugs, and dangerous individuals from the streets, we've made the Central Valley and Central Valley neighborhoods safer. California DOJ's Special Operations Unit is a unit I often like to brag about and I'm very proud of. They played a leading role in this operation. They leveraged advanced investigative techniques and intelligence sharing to support every stage of this investigation. Our Special Operations Unit exists to take on exactly this kind of threat: violent career criminals, gang networks, and organized criminal groups. We are proud when we are asked to join an investigation. We are grateful and proud to respond and do everything we can to assist. We did that here. Through our partnerships, we were able to act swiftly and with precision, ensuring our communities are protected while suspects are held accountable in a court of law. And this, again, was a true team effort, a model of what's possible when agencies at every level of government work together with a shared goal, with a common goal, with a shared commitment to public safety. Assistant U.S. Attorney Sanchez spoke to the level of coordination that the perpetrators had and the danger we were dealing with, but also to the extraordinary work of our law enforcement in identifying and stopping these operations. The fight against organized crime requires constant vigilance, constant collaboration, constant investment in intelligence-led enforcement. The bottom line is California will not tolerate organized criminal activity that puts families at risk. We are showing that today. Thanks to the hard work of our DOJ agents and law enforcement partners, families in the Central Valley can rest a little easier tonight. We're not just arresting individuals, we're disrupting entire criminal operations. We'll continue to work alongside the brave men and the brave women who risk their lives every day to protect our families and hold perpetrators accountable. As the state's chief law enforcement officer, I'll continue to marshal the resources, marshal the expertise and intelligence of our California DOJ to put a stop to these dangerous crimes. I'd also like to take a moment to thank my team within the Special Operations Unit that I talked about earlier for their life-saving efforts, as well as our Department of Law Enforcement Chief Stephen Woolery, who's here, and Assistant Chief Ray Diaz. I'm proud of our team, grateful for the work that they put into this operation. And with that, I want to say thank you again to all the team members that made today successful and possible. And it's now my pleasure and honor to pass it on to FBI Special Agent in Charge, Sid Patel.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Sid Patel, Special Agent in Charge for the Sacramento Field Office of the FBI. Today's announcement represents the culmination of months and diligent investigative teamwork to tackle violent crime in the Central Valley. This operation also launches the FBI's Summer Heat Initiative, a nationwide effort to surge resources to crush violent crime during the summer months. By surging resources alongside state and local partners, executing federal warrants on violent criminals and fugitives, and dismantling violent gangs nationwide, we are aggressively restoring safety in our communities across the country. Here in the Central Valley, that effort focused on the Bulldog criminal street gang, whose members have been responsible for violent crimes, drug trafficking, and terrorizing communities, including rural towns like Huron and Coalinga. Gang members operated with zero regard for human life, committing violent crimes, conspired to murder other gang members, and trafficking firearms and dangerous drugs, including meth, cocaine, and fentanyl. Yesterday's operation sends a clear message. Violent crime is not welcome here. Since joining forces with MAGIC in February 2024, our joint investigations have stopped multiple planned acts of violence, including intended murders. This was a massive undertaking. More than 550 agents, officers, intelligence analysts, translators, prosecutors, and a cadre of support personnel, representing more than 25 law enforcement agencies, working shoulder to shoulder to ensure the success and safety of the investigation and yesterday's operation. Together, we served 38 federal arrest warrants and federal search warrants at 25 locations throughout the region to crush a criminal organization that has plagued the Central Valley. 34 federal subjects are currently in custody. 6 of those subjects arrested on federal complaint were already in custody on state charges. Our efforts disrupted criminal activity, which provides an opportunity for a brighter future for everyone in this region. These cases don't come together without strong partnerships. I've served the FBI across the country, and I can tell you what we have here, the collaboration among local, state, and federal partners, is exceptional. This level of teamwork is what makes successes like this possible. I'd like to personally thank the men and women of the FBI Sacramento Field Office, especially our Fresno resident agency, our SWAT teams from Sacramento, San Francisco, San Diego, Portland, Seattle, and Las Vegas, as well as our federal partners from the DEA and U.S. Marshal Service. This operation received support from the FBI Tactical Task Force and the FBI Hostage Rescue Team from Quantico, who ensured we had clear and open communications across the FBI SWAT teams who made tactical entries. I would also like to thank our federal, state, and Central Valley law enforcement partners for the continued close collaboration and tactical support that made this operation a success. This was a united effort with local law enforcement, focusing resources to counter the most violent and criminally active gangs in our region. Make no mistake, gangs like this are driving the violence in our neighborhoods. They're responsible for violent crime, for drug distribution, weapons trafficking, and if left unchecked, they erode public safety and destroy futures, especially for our youth and young children. Our shared mission is clear: disrupt the violence, remove drugs and guns from our streets, and protect the families of the region. But public safety doesn't rest solely on law enforcement. The community, all of you, play a crucial role. If you see something suspicious, you can provide an anonymous tip to an FBI field office. We have 55 field offices across the nation, and we have satellite offices as well, ours being in Sacramento, in the Roseville area, and then here in Fresno as a resident agency. You can call 1-800-CALL-FBI or go to tips.fbi.gov. We want to hear from you, and we will protect you and your anonymity if you come to us. If you see something, say something, and we will do something. The FBI is deeply committed to crushing violent crime. And the agencies standing here today are equally committed to ensuring a safer tomorrow for our communities. Together, we will act on your tips to ensure a safer tomorrow for all of our families. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce Fresno County Sheriff Zanoni.
Thank you, Sid. Appreciate that. I'm Fresno County Sheriff John Zanoni, and I am extremely proud to be here today with our law enforcement partners. As you see up here, this collaboration and this work together is what made this operation possible. I know that a lot of money, a lot of time, effort, and energy goes into it. I am very proud of the success of this operation. Getting 58 individuals into custody out of areas like Huron and Coalinga have a significant impact on public safety and the quality of life for the individuals that not only live in those communities, but also the surrounding communities within Fresno, Kings County, and ultimately all of Fresno County. Because as you will see when you look at this investigation, this criminal enterprise of these Bulldog gang members reaches out as far as Fresno, down into other counties. They have access to Interstate 5 and other surrounding counties. So getting these individuals off the streets is just so important for what we're trying to accomplish here as law enforcement. That is to make our residents as safe as possible in the cities they live in and in the communities that they live in. But there's something else I'm very proud of today, and that is looking out here into the audience and seeing some of the individuals from various agencies who are here today who actually did the work. They were the ones out there making the vehicle stops, writing the search warrants, writing the arrest warrants, going out yesterday on these tactical operations to serve the search warrants. They're the ones who deserve the credit here because they're the ones who put their lives on the line in order for all of us to have a safer Fresno County to live in. And a couple of sheriff's detectives that I want to mention who put a lot of time, effort, and work into this. When you're talking about these search warrants and these arrest warrants, they have to get written by detectives and they have to be taken to a judge and signed. So I want to thank Detective Andrew Moreno, Detective Jeremy Doty, our two homicide detectives, Jose Diaz and Richard Antunes, for all of their work. I know there was a lot of sleepless nights, there was a lot of late hours, there was a lot of tracking the sheriff down to get things signed, and they did it. And because of their work, this operation came together. When we look at the crimes that were committed, we talk about murders and homicides, we talk about other violent assaults, drug dealing, firearms trafficking, and those things. But because of this operation, we solved a homicide from 2017. And I just want to note that because at the sheriff's office and with your law enforcement partners up here, we do not forget those victims. We went back 8 years and solved a case to bring justice to that family who has been separated from their loved one because of this homicide by these individuals that are part of this gang. And so to me, that's a true testament for us bringing justice to victims and their families, to look back 8 years and still have that in our sights and to make that case. And I'll close by saying that we know there's a lot of criminal street gang members out there here in Fresno County and across this state. And we have done these operations with our federal, local, state partners time and time again. We've done probably 2 of these operations a year. And every time, whoever the lead agency is, the effectiveness and the success of these operations, in my opinion, is off the charts. We've made great arrests. We've confiscated numerous firearms. We've gotten drugs off the streets. We've probably prevented people from suffering drug overdoses within the Fresno County Jail because those drugs were never delivered to them in custody. It is amazing to see the work that we do when we all work together and what we can accomplish. And to those criminal street gang members out there that haven't been targeted, are you next? Because right now, we've been running these operations year in and year out, and we've been very successful. So if you are next, your name and picture will be up here on one of these boards as someone who is in custody, and as the Attorney General and Kim Sanchez said, will be held accountable for your actions, and we will ensure that our neighborhoods and our communities here in Fresno County are safe. As far as the individuals who are outstanding and are not in custody, if you're out there and you're watching this, and you know those individuals or you know where they're at, but you don't want to give us your name, you can be anonymous and you could call Crime Stoppers at 559-498-STOP. Your tip will remain anonymous and you can even receive a financial reward for helping us make our community safer. Because we've put in the work, but it's a two-way street. We need help from our community. We need you to give back. If you know where these individuals are, please contact us and let us know so we can get them off the streets so they can't victimize anyone else. Thank you very much for coming here today and taking the time to put this information out there to our community. And with that, I would like to introduce Fresno County District Attorney Lisa Smitkamp.
Thank you, Sheriff Zanoni. Good morning, everyone. As Sheriff Zanoni said, my name is Lisa Smitkamp, and I have the honor and privilege of being the Fresno County District Attorney. I've been standing at these podiums now for over a decade, talking about the collaboration, talking about the amazing work that is done here in Fresno by our federal, state, and local partnerships. And I'm not going to reiterate everything that Chief Sanchez said or that Sheriff Zanoni said, but just so the people in the public know, the real heroes are not the people who are standing up here. The real heroes are the people who are standing in the back of this room, the people, the officers and the deputies that sacrifice their families, they sacrifice their time, they sacrifice their personal safety every single day to make all of us safer, to make all of the communities that we live in safer. And I want the people in the rural communities to know that you are not forgotten. The area that these defendants targeted were some of the most vulnerable areas with people that sometimes feel forgotten because they live in small cities within our very large county. So just know that you are cared for too. And on behalf of the men and women of the Fresno County District Attorney's Office, I would like to thank each and every one of you in the back. You know who you are, for the sacrifice that you make, for the work that you put in, for the dedication that you have to public safety in our community. You are honored, you are respected. And we appreciate you so very much. With that said, we will be taking 28 state defendants here out of this operation. As Chief Sanchez said, there were 38 of these individuals will also face federal charges. Some of them will face state and federal charges both. We have 11 people facing conspiracy to commit murder, 5 with robbery, 13 defendants with various drug and gun crimes, and as Sheriff Zanoni referred to, 1 person will be prosecuted for a 2017 homicide. Many of these people involved in this situation and this gang are female. Sometimes we always think of gang members as only being male, but that is not true in the criminal enterprises that we have in 2025. We also have 3 juveniles that are included in this very sad situation because, as we know, a lot of gang violence and a lot of gang activities becomes familial, and gang members raise little gang members. And as the world has changed over the last decade, and we have seen the criminal justice system be dismantled by what is mistakenly called criminal justice reform, we see that more gangs are involving juveniles in crime because the way that the legislature has acted in the last 10 years makes it almost impossible for prosecutors at the state level to effectively prosecute juveniles who are gun-toting, drug-selling, sometimes murderers. They assault people with weapons, they steal, they rob, they loot, and it's a behavior that's encouraged by their families. And there is not a lot of accountability. And these young people are learning to terrorize communities. They are coming up in an environment that is unhealthy, and when the parents or the families do want help, there's not much we can do because our hands are tied by these restrictive laws that have been passed. So I am very invigorated today that Attorney General Bonta is here to say that he is going to marshal resources for us and that he is pro-law enforcement and that he is here to support and he will encourage resources because we can investigate and arrest and prosecute all day long. And if we cannot incarcerate, we have no business being in the investigative business because then it becomes a complete waste of resources. So sadly, many times incarceration is the only answer because I will guarantee you that many of these people who have been arrested today have been given the chance for probation. They have been given the chance for rehabilitation. There are several people that were pulled in on probation violations because they have been given many chances to rehabilitate, chances. And when those chances don't work, sometimes the only alternative we have is incarceration. So we need to have a state that puts proper funding for the population that we have and the criminal population we have to put those resources toward what we need. Because incarceration is sadly sometimes the end. It is the last part of the accountability. Because you can sit up here and talk about safety, and you can talk about being pro-law enforcement, and you can talk about it all day long, but if you cannot remove those repeat violent people who refuse to take the services that they are given, who refuse to comply with probation, who refuse to comply with parole and snub their noses at law enforcement and take advantage of these situations that have been created in the state over the last decade, the only answer sometimes is to remove them from society and to incarcerate them. So I am happy that we are going to marshal those resources, and I hope that we can really encourage and make people in Sacramento who pass these laws understand that without the ability to properly house inmates who are doing these terrible acts all over our small communities, all over this state, without the ability to incarcerate them and actually do something for them while they are in prison, to rehabilitate them, to teach them skills, to give them job skills, that's where we need to put our money. Because without it, we're just going to keep spinning, spinning, spinning. And I am so grateful, as I have been for the past 10 years, to have the partnership we have with the United States Attorney's Office. There is not a harder working prosecutor in this state, if not this nation, than Chief Kim Sanchez. It is an honor to work with you, an honor to know you, an honor to watch you, because she is one of the most unsung heroes in this county. And I can tell you I've worked with her for a decade. They don't come any better than Kim Sanchez. And we are so lucky to have this federal partnership that many other district attorneys in the state of California do not share. They do not have collaborative relationships with their U.S. Attorney's Office, and we are so fortunate in Fresno to have that, because we can rely on our federal partners, because the federal statutes and the federal sentencing structures are strong, and the punishment matches the crimes. We can't say that always in the state of California. So I am forever grateful to our federal partners at the FBI, DEA, U.S. Attorney's Office, all of the agencies, HSI, because as a mother and a lifelong resident of Fresno, I know that myself, my family, my loved ones, my friends, my colleagues, and all of you are safer for this relationship. Thank you so much.
Attorney General, do you agree with what the district attorney said about more incarceration may be the answer?
Let me first take the opportunity to very vehemently agree with what the district attorney said about who the real heroes are in this room, the men and women who engaged in the operations, who put their lives at risk, who put on a uniform, donned a badge, and went out to do important work. That's why we're here. We have the opportunity to lead those teams and to uplift their important work and talk about it today. It's an honor and a privilege to do that. But we're grateful to the men and women who've done that. Also vehemently agree with the district attorney's comments around the need to do more when it comes to rehabilitation, job training, prepare people to be able to successfully reenter when they have served their debt to society and are ready to come back. And obviously, of course, people that are involved in this operation are going to prison, rightfully so. And not sure why that was ever in doubt. But I do want to take the opportunity to shout out my Special Operations Unit. Some of the comments made today very appropriately pointed out that they have stopped murders in progress. They have helped solve murders for victims who are never forgotten and deserve justice and accountability. They have stopped human trafficking and drug trafficking, firearms trafficking. Proud of them. But none of what we have done is possible without everyone in this room. So want to just double click on and emphasize what the district attorney also appropriately emphasized, which is the importance and critical nature of partnership, collaboration, of a DA's office working with an AG's office, and then with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and then with the Sheriff's Office, and then with the FBI. When we work together, when we pool our resources, when we share our expertise, when we share intelligence, we are at our best. And I believe that the people of California want our law enforcement agencies and departments to be fighting crime, not fighting each other, committed to working together, collaborating with one another. And that's what you see on full display here. It's beautiful, it's powerful, it's a great day. I'm proud to be a part of it and proud of my team at the Special Operations Unit for doing their part.
This is a question either for Sheriff Zanoni or Special Agent Patel, but when exactly did you start this operation, and what specifically did it take for you to collect enough intelligence to make these threats?
So this operation started months ago, and obviously we talked about the 2017 homicide. There's a lot of other crimes that have been ongoing in these communities, such as Coalinga and Huron. And when it comes to the city of Huron, many times if they have a homicide investigation, the sheriff's office will come in and take over the investigation and handle it and work the case. So when we look at our multi-agency gang enforcement consortium and they see the gang activity and we see it related to these violent crimes like homicides and other things, that's when we start to put together our intelligence and look to putting on an operation like this to have a significant impact on our rural communities and on the city of Huron and the city of Coalinga. We use a lot of advanced techniques when we're conducting these investigations. I'm not going to go into that at this time, but we have all hands on deck. We're using technology, social media, everything you can think of in order to figure out the next step of these gang members and these violent individuals and what act of drug dealing, of violent crime that they may be committing in the future, and trying to head them off and trying to target our investigations to protect individuals in our community from these violent individuals. One thing I want to touch on, because it's something that I think a lot of people miss when it comes to what we're doing here. And these are large investigations, huge operations. You know, you saw it's over 500 law enforcement officers to participate. We're spending a lot of money. We're having a lot of very violent individuals. But what we struggle with here in the state of California is something that I want to put out there, and the 58 sheriffs, myself included, have to deal with, is AB 109 and realignment, which happened, we'll say, somewhere between 2005 and 2010. And during that time, we've slowly closed down prisons in the state of California. We've closed down prison beds, and we've reduced the number of available prison beds. When Jerry Brown was governor, we got 1022 funding, which allowed us to build our new West Annex jail. But as the agreement to build that, we had to close the South Annex jail. So we did not gain any jail beds here in Fresno County. And to put that into perspective for our safety and for the folks in the state of California is, when AB 109 took effect, we had between 150 and 160,000 people incarcerated in state prisons. Today, based on the last Cal State Sheriff Conference I attended, CDCR claims there's 92,000 people in custody. So that's a reduction of almost 70,000. We know that crime really hasn't gone down. What we've done is we've put the responsibility of this on the local sheriffs without giving them funding or resources to keep individuals in custody. And many times you'll hear why an individual is released from the Fresno County Jail: because of overcrowding. Because now that burden has come back on us. Yes, the murderers, the really bad folks, go to state prison, but we're housing people in our jail for 3, 5, and 6-year terms and even more. So if we still have the same number of jail beds, do the math. If there's 70,000 people less in prison in the state of California, then we're releasing felons and potentially bad actors out onto our streets to continue to commit these crimes. We're not holding them accountable, and there's a lack of consequences for them. Yes, rehabilitation and probation are important, but what those don't work, there has to be a consequence. There has to be some teeth in it. And if we continue to close prisons, which I'm hearing that we're doing in California, at what point do we stop? At what point do we say enough is enough and we hold people accountable? Because we can only hold so many people in county jails, and at some point they have to be let out, because we have Title 15 and other issues related to conditions of incarceration, so we can't just double bunk people and throw 500 people in a housing unit. Something has to be done. We have Prop 36 now, so you're going to have more people that are going to be subjected to felony charges. And so we must do something to house those individuals and to hold them accountable for their actions. Otherwise, the voice of the people to pass Prop 36 will be meaningless. Thank you.
Attorney General response?
Go ahead.
One of the concerns from the immigrant community was that after this operation, agents from HSI or FBI were going to arrest and document immigrants. What message
Talking to me? Thank you. This is a criminal operation. This is a criminal operation. This is a criminal operation. It is not a civil immigration enforcement operation. So just to be clear about what we're here to talk about today. Meanwhile, the federal administration has the right and ability to lawfully enforce civil immigration laws, and they are. And they need to do it lawfully, meaning they can't racially profile, they can't violate the Fourth Amendment and unlawfully detain or arrest or use excessive force. But they absolutely have the right to enforce civil immigration laws, and they are. Prior to this administration, which had very clear indications of what it would do with respect to civil immigration, and before they took office, we, in my office, had meetings all throughout the state talking about the rights of immigrants in our state, an important reminder at a time when maybe those rights would be necessary. We talked about the laws of the state of California that apply in the civil immigration enforcement area. And we also, I shared my commitment to the incredible immigrants that make California strong, including me, including my mom, including many in this room who came here looking for a better life and opportunity, found it, and are pursuing and realizing their version of the California dream or the American dream, and have contributed to the great success of California and to America. So that hasn't changed. I continue to see, value, and support our immigrant communities that have made California strong and made us great. Immigrants do make California great. That message is clear, consistent, and I say it again today.
Do you have any reaction on this Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship?
I do. Thank you. And maybe one of the next questions will come back to the topic at hand here. But I'm happy to talk about the U.S. Supreme Court ruling today. It was a mixed bag from our perspective. It was not about birthright citizenship. Let me just be clear on that. The U.S. Supreme Court decision today did not address the substantive issue of whether birthright citizenship, the constitutional right that exists in the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause and has been affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court multiple times, that if you're born on American soil, you're an American citizen. That has not changed. That was not addressed today. The issue addressed today was the use of nationwide injunctions.
I'm very sorry to interrupt. Can you deflect those questions until
Sure.
afterwards?
And let me say this.
Okay.
I am happy to have a pull aside with you on any topic that you like. I would like to continue to stay on the topic that we're here for. And if you have a question for me or any of my amazing colleagues who are part of this important operation, we'd love to have those types of questions.
Can someone speak to possibly how this operation was unique to past operations? And if there's anything new that these criminal networks are using, any trends you guys have picked up, social media? I know you spoke about younger people. Anything that you guys have found in this investigation?
Well, this is a large operation, right? We don't have large operations like this too often, maybe every 4 to 6 months. So having 550 personnel, having the 25 plus law enforcement agencies involved for a major takedown like this. To answer your question, social media, are they using different tools? Yes, they continue to use all the new tools that are out there, right? And we're evolving and adapting to these criminals as well, as they are to us. So we continue to do so. But what makes this unique is that it's just a major takedown. 550 law enforcement officers, right? Utilizing our hostage rescue team that does not come out for regular operations. That's a major deal. Having various SWAT teams, not just FBI, but our local partners. This was a massive takedown to disrupt this gang. And all the murders, all the criminal activity that are occurring in these communities to keep everyone safe here. So that's what makes it unique. It's a major, major takedown, major success.
Can you elaborate on the role of the hostage negotiators, and also what's up with these holes in the wall jails? Which jails? How long were they there? When we get notice and the drug after passed back and forth?
So I'm going to focus on the operation that we had in the investigation. So the hostage rescue team, HRT, they're our specialized team of basically, we have great SWAT teams here. They train all the time, but these are the elite of the elite. And they're back at Quantico, and they come out for special operations and missions like this.
How were they used in this operation?
They were used as part of going after the worst of the worst subjects that are armed and dangerous, that could be a true concern for any law enforcement activities that we have with them. So they're used because they're specialized in these types of subjects and these really worst of the worst subjects to go after. They also help with coordination of a major takedown like this, right? I mean, we had, like I said, 550 law enforcement officers from all across, not just California, but Nevada and just our neighboring states as well assisting. So.
Was there an actual hostage situation, or were they just in case there was?
So they're called HRT, Hostage Rescue Team, but they're used in various different functions. And they can be used, like our SWAT teams, to apprehend individuals as well. But if there ever was a hostage situation, that's the team you want.
There was not.
There was not. Correct.
And then the question about the holes in the jail walls, somebody address that?
So in this case, there were drugs that were passed via holes in the jail walls that were carved out by prisoners.
Which jail?
So I'm not going to speak specifically.
About this operation, so
The jails that the defendants were housed in.
federal, state,
There are no federal jails in the Eastern District of California, so the prisoners are housed in jails that are operated by local law enforcement.
Do you think that's
talking
indicative
about
of
Sheriff Sonomi's jails, there were holes in the walls here?
That would be one of them.
And how long were they there, how did they get noticed?
I can only speak to what's in the record, and that wasn't there.
Or did Sheriff Sonomi maybe can address that?
They weren't there very long, but what we've found out is that the individuals that are in custody in our facility are very creative. They've got a lot of time on their hands. They're very good at concealing them, and they found that as an alternative way to potentially bring narcotics into the facility through very small holes. That has subsequently since then been addressed, and we are actively, combating that type of activity and being vigilant on our part. But these are the kind of individuals that we house in our facilities, and some of them, because they know that, there's not a whole lot of teeth in the law, they know that there's a chance they could be released, and individuals are not afraid of the law like they once were. And so we're seeing that, as blatant as that is, trying to get drugs through a wall or a small hole in a correctional facility.
any idea how long that had been going on?
I don't know how long it's been going on. We've had several incidences in different locations, and we've been able to get it stopped, and we've been able to arrest the individuals who came to bring drugs to those individuals inside the jail, as was part of this operation. But we've taken some other proactive steps to mitigate that and to ensure that it is less likely to occur in the future.
I've got a question about this diagram that we have here, the Operation Shotgun diagram. So if we're to, if I'm interpreting correctly, so Ignacio Sanchez at the top is kind of the ringleader of all of this. He's in Salinas Valley Prison, State Prison. Was he actually able to coordinate all of this, from behind prison walls? And if so, how?
There was a lot of coordination done from behind prison walls, but at this point, I'd ask if there are additional questions that we do it afterwards. I thank everybody for coming, and people will be available afterwards if you have additional questions. Thank you.